How's it going, guys? I'm a top 100 trader on nearly 80 million coins, and these team of the season cards are amazing to trade. They move like clockwork, so I'm going to teach you how to tell the time, tell you when to buy, tell you when to sell, and this will work throughout the whole of the team of the season process. It often works with new promo cards, but it's working especially well with these team of the season cards. We can break it down into quicker flips, selling within 12 hours, and longer holds where you're holding for multiple days. So let's get into it. So we can split the quick flips into 3 separate windows. And the first window you want to buy and sell in is within the first hour or 2 hours of the promo. You would be buying within the first 20 to 40 minutes and selling either at 5 to 7 or 5 minutes to 8 UK time, okay? And this is because supply comes onto the market with lightning rounds, but demand is still high. So once that first 20 to 40 minutes comes out, when the cards get lots of supply, people stop opening packs as much, the card starts rising, but it only works for a very select few cards, okay? And it's a bit of a gamble. I wouldn't recommend to do this for lots of people. I personally don't do this myself, only when the opportunities are so obvious that you have to get involved, okay? And it's typically when a card looks too cheap for what it is initially. All of these cards will come down in price, after a few hours, but initially people may be expecting certain cards to be worth more than what they are. So Cherky was a card that came onto the market. After the first 20 minutes, people deemed him too cheap for what he was. This is because he's a 5-star player, French, so links well, Premier League, Man City, links well, can play right wing, right mid, cam. He was the only right mid and right wing off the whole promo for the Premier League, so very good option there. And his play styles were really nice. Okay, maybe not the best play style pluses, maybe 1 or 2 wasted play styles, but they're kind of personal preference. No real major wasted play styles, and people had used this card before, so knew that he would play quite nicely in game. Okay, so that's a card that did well. Another card was Timber. Again, exactly the same scenario as Cherky, all of the above, and again, the same. In his position, there wasn't much competition for how good he was. No wasted play styles. He was a few 100,000 coins. Other right backs who are really, really good typically are worth more than that. So they valued him at a higher value. Obviously, over time, he came down in price, but within those first hours, the card looks really nice. There's lots of positives going for the card, so they rise up in the first 2 hours after the initial supplies come in, and then they start falling after that second wave of supply, okay? So that's the cards you're looking out for. I typically wouldn't do this. It's not necessarily the safest method, so I wouldn't recommend it. Typically, you can skip this one. Just enjoy the promo. Don't go rushing into anything. If anyone does look too cheap, it is a bit of an instinct one by knowing the market. But that is window 1. So window 2, I've covered it in my last video. So if you want to check that out, you'll see all the details on what you're looking out for, everything like that. I'll go through a few examples, so it'll be a little bit more in depth, and you'll get a better understanding if you do want to understand this. It's very simple, but you're simply buying these cards, any team of the season card. So not like window 1, where it's very select few. This is every single team of the season card, maybe besides the discard cards, but I've never checked those. I'm not interested in those. Every single team of the season card dips throughout the Friday and then hits a low at midnight. Okay? Around midnight, they'll hit their low. Sometimes it's maybe 11:30, sometimes it's maybe 12:30, sometimes it carries on until 1 a.m. But typically, on the first day a promo gets released, they will hit their low at midnight, UK time. After they hit their low at midnight, they will find a peak which may be profitable between 3 and 5 a.m. They will hit a peak which may be profitable between 7 and 9 a.m. They will hit a third peak which might be profitable between 11 a.m. and 2 p.m. Okay, this works like clockwork. Every single card has the same motion. The only difference is you may not know which peak, which selling window will have the most profit in it. Okay, so you take profit when you're happy with it, knowing that you may miss out on a better opportunity later on to get more profit for it, but it's typically best to take profit when you get it. So the final window, window 3, is pretty much the same as window 2. However, it's 24 hours later plus a couple of hours. So your buying window is Sunday morning between 1 a.m. and 3 a.m. And the sell window you're looking for is anywhere from 4 a.m. to around 11 a.m. Typically, you want to sell the card in exactly the same way, where people aren't opening packs, but maybe demand is still there, so that the card slowly rises into the day. This method doesn't work for nearly as many players. It typically only works for the players that are in demand and have low supply. So a card which recently did really well for this was Declan Rice, where he went to as low as around 2.7 million and rose up to around 3 million in the early hours of the morning the same day. This method takes a lot more knowledge of the market, understanding which players are rare, for example, understanding where their low points are, because the buy window isn't as precise. So you need to be watching the cards a lot more, understanding where they're hitting their low points. Typically looking at FootGG momentum page, you can find cards which are falling into the night or past midnight and picking those players, choosing which card has the least supply but also in demand, finding the right balance and picking your card. I'd recommend hedging your bets on this. You don't want to go too far. You don't want to put too many coins into one card, because it is less certain that that card will actually rise, okay? It's nowhere near as effective as the window 2, okay? And like I said, it would take a little bit more knowledge to do this, so I don't recommend doing it for everyone. If you're unsure what I've explained so far, this window probably isn't for you. If you're a bit more of a risk taker and understand what you're looking at on the market, maybe you followed my fluctuation explanations, you got some good understanding of the market, this might be more suited to you, but it is riskier. It's probably at a medium risk. Window 2 is very low risk, and window 1 is probably the highest risk. Although if you're watching this when this video comes out, you're probably thinking I've missed all of these opportunities. Well, don't worry. We're going to go on to some more opportunities to buy throughout the whole week, where you can get these team of the season cards and make a profit. But it'll be a longer hold, so let's get into those. So the final opportunity to buy the cards is throughout the week, and you'll be buying these cards at their low points. The low points for the higher end cards typically hit on Monday in the off-peak hours, but they also carried on hitting their low points through to Wednesday. So if you miss Monday, there's no problem. You can still buy them on Wednesday and sometimes early hours on Thursday. However, with the cheaper cards, they tend to hit their lower points around Thursday at rival rewards. Okay, so that's Thursday morning UK time. However, there were other times you could buy the card, but typically you're fine if you understand what the rough low point of the cards are, and if the card hits that low point again, then you're fine buying. But don't feel like there's fear of missing out. There'll be more opportunities as long as you're not on Thursday or Friday. If you're before then, you should have plenty of opportunities to buy this card. So don't go rushing in thinking you're missing out and the card started rising, because it will come back down again. You just need to keep a track of a few cards and you'll be able to find good points to buy these cards. The cards I would recommend going for are the ones that are going to be most in demand. Okay, so for example, team of the season hasn't had many great right backs. Timber seems to be a very complete right back, so Timber would be a good option to go for. Also, goalkeepers tend to do very well, and Donnarumma is one of the best goalkeepers in the game with his team of the season card, so he could do very well. These are good mid-budget cards. Also, Ekatike is a player I think could do well. Players like Cherky, who seem very good for the price which they are. And if they seem good for the price that they are, then they're likely to get bought up for Weekend League, because people want to use these cards if they're on a bit of a budget to be able to try and get more wins in champs. For the higher end cards, they typically hit their lows earlier in the week, as I mentioned, but they can also be good too. Make sure if you're picking one of the more expensive cards, that you're picking some of the best in the position and they're also somewhat popular on the game already. So sticking to the best in positions or in areas of the field, I would go for Donnarumma, I'll go for Timber, Saliba, or maybe Gabriel. I'm not against Reece James either. I think he's one of the best right backs for his price bracket. So if you are on a lower budget, I'm not completely against going for Reece James. However, his supply is so high that if he's not a very in-demand card on the weekend, then he might not perform too well in terms of an investment. Some of the best midfield options are Declan Rice and Cherky. I think they're well priced for what they are, and I think they'll be very in-demand cards. And for the forwards, the only one I'm really interested in is Semenyo, just because of his stats and his price tag. Haaland, I think, could perform well, but the only problem is he's got a cheaper card, which seems to be somewhat similar, so people may be not as interested in his card. And also we've got Harry Kane coming, who's going to be a direct competition for that striker role, and he's likely to have more passing play styles and making him a bit more usable in game. So I would stay away from Haaland, maybe stick to Semenyo. But ultimately, most of these cards, if you invest in them in the week at their low points, you will be able to profit. But when are we selling these cards? We will be selling these cards on Saturday, roughly 3 hours after content, and Sunday, 3 hours after content. There's no rhyme or reason as to which day will be the high point, but one of those days will be the sell point, and you should be able to take profit on these cards. If you're not making the profit you want by Saturday, it's fine to hold into Sunday to see if you're going to get any better returns. You may make a slightly less profit, but ultimately at very, very worst, you should be breaking even on these cards. I would typically stay away from the Football League Team of the Season cards. So whatever the kind of second tier of team which gets released, so this week it would be the Football League, it may be the women's team. Typically, I'll generally avoid these cards unless you know that they are very used in game prior to the Team of the Season being released. So female teams may be absolutely fine, but I would stick to the select few best players in the team. And that goes again for next Friday. When the Bundesliga team's coming out, stick to the very select few women's players who may perform well going out of packs, because they will be in demand because they are very good cards. Okay? So overall, that is how we can make coins during Team of the Season. There's window opportunities for quicker flips. There's window opportunities for investments where you're holding for multiple days. I hope you make good coins from this, and it should work throughout every single week of the Team of the Season. So if you're having any trouble making coins, this should be able to make some easy coins for you throughout the whole entire promo. And you'll get to try some of the best cards out whilst making coins doing it. So thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next time.